Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This time we are going to paint with metallics for a change, and we're going to paint a quick and easy bronze with verdigris effect on this Vindicator sniper. We're also going to paint a little bit of steel and some gold, but mostly the bronze. I'm doing this for a tabletop commission. It's a quick and easy, so let's get into it. I did a whole video with a brush, but there are parts in the video where you can use an airbrush to speed up the process if you would like to. First things first, we are going to thin down some white. I just used regular white, no inks or whatever, just white from AK Interactive. Doesn't matter which white you use, but I thinned down a little bit so it can run better into the recesses, and we are going to apply this onto every recess you see on your model. Well, we're going to apply this everywhere we want to show the verdigris coming through. In this case, on this sniper, the whole statue is going to be bronze, so I'm going to go all out on this. This is a tabletop commission, and I'll be uploading more tabletop stuff to YouTube from now on. I mainly upload on Patreon for higher quality tabletop and display painting, but every now and then we upload stuff here as well. But it's gonna be more of a tabletop standard or quick but effective cool effects, just like the video I recently uploaded about liquid and a glass effect. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's on my channel, feel free to do so. So, to get back to this, don't worry about the sniper that is attached to the base. This is how I've got the miniature, so we're gonna try and make the best out of it. I personally would have done the sniper separate, but yeah, here we are. He already assembled them. Sorry if my head appears in front of the camera sometimes. It doesn't happen too often, I think, but sometimes it does. Now, in the meanwhile, just make sure you have applied the white all into these recesses. You might want to repeat this process 2 to 3 times to get a good coverage of white in these recesses. I'm gonna quickly list up the paints I have used for this video, and it's a mix of 3 brands I mostly use, which is Citadel, AK and Vallejo. I'll show them on screen and also in the description of the video. We're gonna start off with white, of course, from AK Interactive. It doesn't really matter which white, just white, and make sure to give it a good shake before applying it to your palette. I'm going to use a mix of emerald green from AK Interactive and verdigris from Vallejo. Create a 50-50 mix, maybe 60-40, depends, you know. And this will be used for the verdigris, basically. The metallics I'll be using, I'll start with the bronze one. The bronze is Warplock bronze as the base. I mean, we're gonna apply it above the mix of emerald and verdigris. And on top of the Warplock bronze, we are going to use Sycorax bronze. The gold recipe for the, true metallic, I'd say. Emperor's Children for the base coat. I have used Balthazar gold for the first layer of gold. Then Retributor Armour gold. And I also use some Druchii violet shade from Citadel. They're all Citadel paints. For the rusted metal, I am going to use light rust from AK Interactive and Leadbelcher from Citadel. I know, quite a few paints, but you can use equivalents if you like. You don't have to get these paints in order to get a similar result. Anyway, we are now going to mix the emerald green and the verdigris together. Thin it down a little bit, as always, and we're going to paint it all over the area you want it to be bronze. Recesses especially, and as you can see, it will probably need a few coats, so keep your paints thin, like 3 parts of water to 1 part of paint. So you might want to repeat this a few times and make sure it's dried up before you apply another layer. This way you build up gradually and you get a nice and clean result in the end. Of course, that's why I said in the beginning of the video, you can use an airbrush for this part, like I said, and maybe save some time. I think it might go a little bit quicker, but I don't know, you know, you have to prepare the airbrush and cleaning it, so it might not be that much of a difference. Anyway, just make sure it's well applied in the recesses. The paint doesn't need to be opaque all over the model, just make sure most of it is well covered. The important part here are the recesses. Rest of the statue will be bronze anyway, so give it a few coats. and this should be somewhat the result, and it's fine like this. We are going to apply a base coat to all the other metals, such as the vertical steel bars. I'm gonna apply some rust here, so I'm gonna base coat it in this light rust from AK Interactive. As well, a few metal parts on the statue. And for the golden halo, I'm gonna use a pink base coat from Citadel, the Emperor's Children one. We are going to add this on there quickly. As always, thin your paints down a little bit before doing this. Again, might need a layer or 2, 3, but I rather spend a little bit more time on applying paints thinned down than too thick. Nobody likes brush strokes on their models. We all like it sharp and clean. You also don't have to use your best brushes for this kind of work. This is a pretty rough tutorial, but you will get nice results. Sorry. So we're gonna go over the parts we did so far. We applied the white in the recesses. We have base coated all the metal parts. And now we're gonna dry brush all the metallics on the miniature. Now the weird part about dry brushing is we don't really use a completely dry brush. I know, let me explain. I feel like when I make my dry brushes a little moist, I get better results if I do this, and it's much more smooth. Just make sure you test your dry brush first on an area before applying it, as always. Some people use a napkin, some don't. I use a rough wooden plank with lots of edges, and I just try it first on that before I go onto the model. The napkin will absorb a lot of water of the brush, and you know what happens when we get thicker paint? You get brush strokes and marks. So yeah, you just want a tiny bit, you just want the brush to be a tiny bit moist, and test it before applying. And I'm gonna start applying the Leadbelcher first. It's quick and easy. We only want rust around the rivets and the bolts and in the corners of the metal. So go ahead and get some of the metallics on there, go crazy. Don't worry about the direction you are going with the brush. Again, this is for tabletop, no need to be perfect, but just make sure everything you see is covered with paint. The next part is that we are going to use the Warplock Bronze, and we are going to apply it all over the Verdigris base coat we painted before. Go crazy, make sure all is well covered, except for the recesses, of course. They have to stay, you know, greenish Verdigris. Again, don't worry about the direction of the brush strokes. Just get it on there and make sure it's all covered with the bronze. Take your time for this. Make sure the paint doesn't get too thick. So every now and then test the brush again, see if it's all, you know, still a tiny bit moisty. When the brush and paint get too dry, you could create some, you know, rough textures in the end. And I'm trying to avoid that on this model. So keep repeating the dry brush process until the verdigris in these, you know, recesses are getting a bit more narrow. You don't want to show off too much of the verdigris onto this. The point about this video is still about the bronze and a small part about the verdigris. I mean, it's a part of the video, of course, but it shouldn't be too overwhelming, is what I mean. If you notice it's there, we have achieved the goal. Now, the second part of the bronze is all the way in the end of the video. I did the golden halo first, before I did the last step, which is applying the Sycorax bronze on the, you know, most obvious areas. It's the same process than this part, but yeah. So if you want to skip to that part, go ahead and fast forward to 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes of the video, and there starts the second bronze layer for this effect. Now you can see, to get it all covered really well, we have to apply a stippling motion sometimes to add some paint to an area, such as the area above the fleur-de-lis. The fleur-de-lis and the edges around the shield symbol is easy because of the edges, you know, and dry brush picks it up really well. But the part above is pretty flat, same as the color of the neck. Just stipple the paint on there and narrow down the verdigris in the recesses to a more natural look. This is, you know, pretty important because, yeah, if you show off too much of the verdigris, it's not that cool. The next part is that we are going to use the Warplock Bronze and we are going to apply it all over the Verdigris base coat we painted before. Go crazy, make sure all is well covered, except for the recesses. They have to stay greenish. Don't worry about the direction of the brush, just get it on there quickly, make sure it's all covered with the bronze. Our next step is some quick gold for the halo. For this part we are going to use a regular brush to paint the Balthazar gold, and also when we will apply the Druchii violet to enforce the shades. We are going to use a dry brush for the Retributor gold. But first things first, make sure we have applied the Balthazar gold all over the halo. It might need a layer or two to get it all covered well. Now, you might ask why the pink undercoat and stuff. Again, this is a commission and the client asked for a specific color scheme which involves pinks and wine red. And I thought, let's try and see what happens. Whenever the Balthazar gold is done, we are going to grab the dry brush again and we are going to use the Retribution Armour gold to brighten up the gold into more of a yellow gold. Again, we are going to do this by dry brushing the top of the halo and also the top side of the different spikes. Leave the lower sides dark of the the spikes with the previous gold. This will create a nice contrast on the gold, and later on we will enforce this shadow by applying the Druchii violet. But let's just make sure the Retribution Armour gold is well applied on the areas you want it to be bright, which is the top part of the halo, the rivets or the the bolts, a little bit, and of course the spikes itself, one side of it. When this is all applied, we are going to grab the regular brush and we are going to edge highlight all over the halo and spikes to enforce these edges all over it. Now we are at the part of the Druchii violet. We're gonna apply some of it in the shaded areas, such as the lower parts of the spikes and halo itself. You can add quite a decent amount because we are going to dry brush one more time after this to create a nice transition between the different metallics and the Druchii violet. But let's make sure let it dry for a minute, because we did use quite an amount of the Druchii violet wash. So yeah, this will enforce the darker areas on the halo, of course. And that is basically it for the video, guys. As said before, it's nice and easy and quickly. Just go crazy and trust the process. I hope you liked it. More videos are on the way, such as the wings for Fulgrim, which will be a longer video. It's quite a big wing, so that's going to be an interesting one. Another incoming videos will involve some tabletop stuff, such as the Blood Angel Terminators, some tabletop Zangors, and also some Sisters of Battle. Those are the next few commissions I'll be working on, so you get to see theirs. So you get to see these in their glory on the channel. Anyway, I hope you liked it. Stay tuned for more. Feel free to comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.